other morning people around. Thank you for those deep guttural chuckles of people who are not morning people. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. Welcome to the 2025 White Bear Area Chamber of Commerce Annual Meeting and Business Awards. It's truly a special day as we celebrate our members. And for those I haven't met yet, my name is Carrie Moore. I'm the Executive Director of the White Bear Area Chamber of Commerce. We've got a lot to get through this morning, so please enjoy your breakfast as we work through the program. It's not scripted, but I also want to say this was my first event last year because I was brand new to the position. So I am so excited one more year later to be here and see all your happy, shiny faces. Our story today starts with the people that have made the chamber what it is today. Our success wouldn't be possible without the business and community leaders, past, present, and future. The hard work and fortitude they put forth to make this wonderful organization is immeasurable. The chamber was established in 1923 under the name White Bear Store Bureau, and today is known as the White Bear Area Chamber of Commerce, with a mission to strengthen business through advocacy, education, and networking. It includes 11 additional surrounding communities. It's truly an honor to have you with us. I thank you for spending your morning with us here today, and I'd like to acknowledge and thank our sponsors for this event. Franzen Bank and Trust. Let's give a big shout out to Franzen Bank and Trust. In 1 second, I'll invite our sponsors to come up and share a message with you guys. Grand Casino, Mille Lacs, and Hinckley. Big round of applause for them. Royal Credit Union. North Oaks Company. And Biz Recycling. Caleb, you are first to give a message from Franzen Bank and Trust. I need you to speak into both microphones.
Both?
Both microphones.
All right. Okay, we're good? Okay. Good morning, everyone. My name is Caleb Peterson. I am a business banker with Franzen Bank and Trust on the corner of 61 and County Road E. I just wanted to take a second to introduce Franzen Bank to those of you who do not know us. We are the largest privately owned community bank in Minnesota by asset size. Franzen Bank and Trust has 38 locations across Minnesota, North Dakota, and Wisconsin. We offer a full suite of services, deposit services, commercial, consumer, loan, mortgage loan, SBA, investment, and trust services. And we focus on providing a premium customer service to all of our customers, as well as local loan decision making. So if any of those services appeal to you, your family, or your business, please feel free to reach out to us. Thank you.
If you were with us at the gala a couple months ago, you might not know that Caleb's name is Caleb. You might have been tempted to call him Bobcats, right? All right, Bob, I'd like you to come up and share a word from Grand Casino. Voice needs to be into both microphones.
Do what?
Talking about, just talk loud.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. I'm not that person she was talking about, the morning person, not me. And I'm so glad you told me I only have 30 minutes, so I can keep it under that easily enough. I thought I would start out by just mentioning, I've been a member of this chamber, I think, since, I thought it was the late 1800s, but apparently not that long ago. The partnership that Grand Casino and White Bear Lake has enjoyed over the years has been tremendous. Maureen's been there, I think, as long as I have. I was on the board way back pre-COVID. A lot of new faces out here today, a few old ones. So Bob Schlichte, Grand Casino, hopefully you'll see me a lot more. I actually retired. How's that working for me? I'm part-time. And for that reason, my boss, Scott Hansen, Scott, wave your hand, he gave me notes because he figured that at my age and not working full-time, that I'd forget stuff. So the biggest thing, Carrie, you've been wonderful. And I not only feel that way, but I hear it from Maureen every time I call. My God, I can't hear enough about you. But good stuff. You're doing a great job and a whole year already, so that's fantastic. We don't have near the locations our banking friend has. We only have two, Grand Casino Mille Lacs and Grand Casino Hinckley. A lot of changes there. If you haven't been there for a while, please come up. All the rooms have been redone. They're unbelievably nice. If you like to have a night out, it can't be better. Our restaurants are great. Apparently we have a dining steakhouse chef's tour the month of February. So if you like good food, I don't know if there's anything in the cities that can compare to the Wynn Steakhouse at Hinckley. A lot of new table games. Now, this is the notes that I got from Scott because I would have never remembered it. Easy Base, is that what it's called, Scott?
Easy Wow.
Oh, easy. Well, your handwriting is horrible. But basically, we got pretty much all the games down. A lot of new games, most of the games that they have in Las Vegas. So come up and see it. If you're a table games player, you'll have a really, really good time. Rooms have been renovated. We got Howie Mandel tomorrow night. Anybody know Howie? He's one weird dude, but he's entertaining. And then we got Brett Young at Hinckley in April. So just a couple things. And the men in the room, you can just plug your ears. This is for the ladies. We have the Chippendales coming again. For some reason, they're a big hit. I don't understand why. But they're here on the fishing opener as well on both properties. Fishing opener weekend. So come up, enjoy Grand Casino, take a look at it. It's changed a lot. And we have golf in the summer. So we're covered there. So Sam, you're good. Thank you, everyone. Again, I just want to reinforce, if you're new members at the Chamber, make a partnership. It will just do nothing but good for your business. But you have to work it. It just doesn't come. You have to work it hard, and it's there for you for the taking. Thank you.
I think we're giving a sneak peek here at Susan's. There we go. Jack, do you want to come up and talk about Royal Credit Union?
Good morning, everyone. I'm Jack Livingston, Business Banking Officer at Royal Credit Union. We're proud to serve as a sponsor for this year's annual meeting. As a member-owned financial cooperative, Royal is passionate about helping individuals and businesses achieve their financial goals, and we're fortunate to be a part of an engaged community like White Bear Lake. Our core purpose is simple: to make a positive impact in the lives we touch. We strive to do that each and every day for our members and the communities we serve. We're especially proud of the partnerships we've built with many organizations in this room. I also just want to take a moment to thank all the Chamber members who volunteered this year to help with our Royal Test Drive events at White Bear Lake Area High School last December. Because of your efforts, students at White Bear Area High School gained invaluable insights into what it takes to succeed on their own and prepare for their financial future. So again, thank you all for that. Thank you, Gary and Maureen at the Chamber, for your leadership, and we look forward to another year of partnership together.
Mark, you didn't answer my email. Did you want to come up and talk about North Oak somebody? He does want to come up. Woo! Don't be sorry. Lots of people don't answer my emails.
So you'll see at your tables, there's a flyer. Northwest Company has partnered with Endeavor Development to develop some land that the family has owned in White Bear Township. And there'll be 4 industrial buildings, each about 100,000 square feet. We're working with the White Bear Township Town Board to get it approved, and hopefully we'll be under construction this summer. We are finishing up the development of North Oaks. There are a few villa lots left and 1 or 2 single-family lots, and then all of the land that was owned by the whole family will be developed. And then we're getting ready to kick off a project in Minor Lakes, which will have some apartments. So it's been a pleasure being a part of the White Bear Area Chamber, and I would echo congratulations to the great work that Carrie and Maureen are doing.
All right. We are honored to have a couple of elected officials here with us in the audience. So I would like to recognize the Mayor of Matamidi, Dick Brainerd. Thank you. the Mayor of White Bear Lake, Dan Lewisman. Thank you all for attending today. It is my pleasure to introduce our past chair for 2024, Peter Frank from GDO Law.
All right, great to see everyone here this morning. Thanks for joining us on one of the coldest mornings of the year. We didn't quite get to the coldest, but like to officially open the annual meeting. Carrier Marine, can we confirm that we have a quorum present? Yes. All right, thank you. All right, we'll continue on with the annual meeting. I'd like to begin by acknowledging some of our past board presidents and chairs that have contributed to the vision of the Chamber today and thank them for their service. We're fortunate to have a few in our presence today. Please stand when I call your name, and everyone please hold your applause until I've introduced all of them. Bill Weigel? Okay. Kevin Donovan? 2004. Dean Knutson? 2006. Adam Hennon? 2019. And Scott Bromelkamp? 2022. Thank you all for your service to our organization. All right, and I'm just going to go through, I'd just like to highlight a few of the accomplishments of our organization over the past year. As a voice of the business community, the Chamber leadership believes it's vitally important to champion new businesses moving into our community. Last year, the Chamber celebrated 42 new businesses and held 20 ribbon-cutting ceremonies. Unless you're a business that needs them, you might never know about certificates of origin. I'm actually going to have to talk to Maureen and Carrie about this because I didn't know this either. Certificate of origin is an official document verifying goods exported from the U.S. were manufactured here in the U.S. Obviously, tariffs have been in the news lately, so this is interesting to me. Many countries require this certification for tariff and trade agreement purposes, and last year the Chamber issued 50 certificates of origin, helping out local businesses with that issue. All of our networking events, morning networking, lunchtime networking, women in business, young professionals, continue to help our businesses by making great connections, new engagements, and informative presentations from local business leaders, nonprofit leaders, and city government leaders. Each time we host a meeting, we lift up one of our restaurant partners, another way that we help local businesses in our community. This year is the 16th year the Women in Business Group will sponsor a purse drive for the women at Solid Ground. 40 or more purses are filled with items contributed by fellow Chamber members. Then they're presented to the women at Solid Ground by their children on Mother's Day, which is just awesome. This is a small outreach that means so much, building each other up in times of need. Our Young Professionals group continues to grow and make an impact. This dynamic group is full of energy, ambition, and fresh ideas. With a calendar packed with networking, professional development, and volunteer events, there are plenty of ways to get involved. Whether you're looking to connect, learn, give back, we invite you to join them at an upcoming event and experience that excitement firsthand. We were happy and honored to give away again three $1,000 scholarships to local students furthering their education. To date, we've given away more than $43,000 in scholarships. In fact, Scott Bromelkamp, who just stood up a minute ago, currently an advisor on the board, he received one of those scholarships all the way back in 2000. Sorry for giving away your age there, Scott. Last October, we celebrated our 34th year as an Adopt a Highway sponsor. It's an honor to be able to maintain and continue our commitment to helping keep our 2-mile section clean and picked up. Our Government Affairs Committee meets during the year with all local legislators, and so we're all up to date on knowing what's going on at the Capitol. This year, we're adding a legislative breakfast to our schedule during the session to ensure that we have an open and clear dialogue with our legislators, especially our local legislators, so that they understand what's going on here in White Bear Lake. The tentative date for that is April 29th, so please watch closely for more information on that. And of course, we'll host legislative receptions in the fall before the next session kicks off. We continued our ongoing advocacy and actively pursued reconfiguration of the 35E and County Road J intersection, which I'm happy to say apparently construction scheduled to begin there in 2026. In an effort to amplify efforts, deliver more programming, and explore innovative opportunities, the Chamber continues to be a collective voice and a founding member of the Washington County Chamber Coalition, as well as a member of the Minnesota Chamber of Commerce. And those memberships help us have more impact on statewide issues as well. We all had a blast at the Not Your Typical Golf Tourney last June. If you've never attended this, you're missing out on a Friday of fun and friends. This year's tourney is Friday, June 6th. So get that on your calendar now and watch for registration and sponsorship availabilities as soon as those come out. I think that's just a portion of what the Chamber has done over the past year, just a small piece of it, and I have to say that it's been my honor to serve as chair of this organization. It's a great organization. I love it. Thank you all for being here, and thank you for that opportunity. And so with that, I'd like to introduce the 2025 chair of the White Bear Area Chamber of Commerce, Jeffrey Borglum from Techie Dudes.
Stick around for a minute.
Yeah.
Well, first I'll say it's a little different feeling. The last time I spoke in front of this room, I was a prime murder suspect at the gala last fall. Much better feeling today. So before further ado, I'd like to thank Peter for his service in 2024, all you've accomplished in leadership within the White Bear Area Chamber of Commerce. Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. Welcome. As Peter said, I'm the current chair of the White Bear Area Chamber of Commerce, and it is my honor today. I want to thank you all for joining us. Before I introduce the 2025 board, I'd like to acknowledge two board members that just came off the board in January. Dustin Carlson with Carlson Clinic. I didn't see him here today. And he was 6 years as a director, and Richard Herod III with White Bear Area Mitsubishi, who served 3 years. We want to thank them for their time and their efforts with the board of directors. Now on to the 2025 board. Board members in attendance, please stand as you're introduced. Please hold your applause until I get through the list. Myself as the chair, Matt Barrios as a new member with Comcast. Peter Frank as the past chair with GDO Law. Adam Hennin with Olson Thielen CPA Treasurer. I did not see Adam here today. And as a side note, you may not look at it if you've seen him lately, but he's been a volunteer his time as our bookkeeper and accountant for the last 20 years. And I have to say, we wouldn't be in the financial state we are today without his help and guidance. Karen Herrera from Merrick, our chair-elect for next year. Mark Hogue with North Oaks Company. Carrie Moore, our executive director. Katie Olson with the White Bear Area Schools. James Putnam with the Farmhouse Style Furniture. Grace Rasmussen with Success Fitness and Training. Journey Rosenow with the Royal Credit Union. Isabel Schwartz with Spotted Dog Marketing. And Tracy Schimmick with City of White Bear Lake Corporate Secretary. Nora Slawick with Century College. And Michael Wellamy with Excel Energy. And finally, on to our advisors, Scott Brumblecamp as Midwest One Bank, and Caleb Peterson, Friends in Bank and Trust. Let's give them all a big round of applause. Thank you for your service thus far, and then on for 2025. Now, it's our annual tradition to give out a few awards every year to the businesses that have done some outstanding achievements and recognition within the community. The first one is the Sustainability and Green Business Award. Recognizes a business that is leading the way in environmental responsibility and sustainable practices. This award honors the company not only prioritizes eco-friendly initiatives, but also initiatives sustainability into its operations, productions, and community engagement. By reducing its environmental impact, embracing innovation, and setting an example for others, the business is proving that its success and sustainability go hand in hand. Today, we celebrate their community to greener, stronger, and more resilient community. This business is also one of our most dedicated recycling businesses. They are always trying to stay ahead of the curve with the latest and greatest resources available, although it's not something that you want to think about often with this business. But did you know that you can now have ecological choices when it's time to depart this earth? Well, you do. Now there's a green burial with water cremation, who'd have thunk? Even a natural organic reduction available to go along with the traditional services offered. Mueller Memorial is our company providing the options that many others don't. Today we are proudly recognizing the team at Mueller Memorial with the Sustainability and Green Business Award.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Thank you. Who am I looking at? Thank you. Good job.
Just keep hitting Susan's. There we go. I hope you guys have that data memorized before she gets up here. The Legacy of Excellence Award honors a business or individual whose long-standing dedication has made a lasting impact on our community. This award recognizes those who have demonstrated outstanding leadership, innovation, and commitment to excellence over the years, setting a high standard for others to follow. Their contributions have not only shaped the local business landscape, but have also inspired future generations. Today, we celebrate the remarkable legacy and the enduring influence that Celine Dinauer has had on our community's success. I don't believe there's anyone here that doesn't know about the fantastic food and goodies that can be found at Keys Cafe at the corner of Banning and 4th Street. They've been there for over 36 years and are a landmark in the downtown area. Growing up and working in the restaurant on a daily basis, Celine grew to know all aspects of the business and at one time owned 3 Keys Cafes, serving breakfast, lunch, and dinners that couldn't be beat. Celine's been a great supporter and is known as a wonderful contributor to local causes. Along with the Chamber, she's been involved with the White Bear Downtown Group, the EDC, Taste of White Bear, and so much more. She is truly a friend to the whole community. We have her to thank for the beautiful gardens that run along Kellerman's Event Center. She certainly has a magic touch and an eye for design. If you haven't heard, Celine has sold Keys to her sisters and is officially retired. She's not here today to celebrate with us, but we know we'll get the award to her soon. Thank you, Celine, for all you've done for White Bear Lake. We hope to see you around and know that you'll enjoy your retirement. Congratulations, Celine.
As the last year's recipient of the Volunteer Year Award, it's my honor to recognize the Volunteer of the Year this year. This award honors an individual whose dedication and passion and generosity have made significant impact on our chamber and the community. This award recognizes someone who goes above and beyond, giving their time and talents to support local businesses, chamber initiatives, and community growth. Their commitment to service embodies the spirit and leadership and collaboration, inspiring others to get involved, make a difference. This morning, we proudly celebrate the contributions and lasting impact that one of our volunteers has made. His name was read earlier as a past chair of the board. In the past 25 years since he led this board, Bill Weigel has supported the chamber in numerous ways. Our most recent, he chaired the morning networking committee managing the presenter schedule, coordinating coordinating equipment, encouraging attendees, and schedule follow-up and coffee meetings on the spot instead of waiting to follow up. Bill has been a fixture in a long area for a long time. He volunteers for just about everything, not just the chamber. You will see him at the Market Fest, the Barely Open, Pancake Breakfast, Madness Heights Lions, just about any other community event, Bill will be there. Thank you, Bill, for our Chamber of Commerce. You are better off with you in it. I'm proud to award the Volunteer of the Year to Bill Weigel, and unfortunately, he is not able to be here today, but let's give him a round of applause. I have no fingernails.
The Legacy of Community Award honors an organization or individual that has made a lasting, meaningful impact on our community through dedication to service, leadership, and outreach. This year, this award recognizes a group that goes beyond success, actively working to uplift and support the people and causes that make our community stronger. Their longstanding commitment to making a difference has created a legacy of generosity, collaboration, and positive change. Did you know that dollars raised by the Lions Club goes right back into our community, always helping and doing what's best? They've built handicap ramps for people to get into their homes, took on a major project like the All Ability Playground, where they raised over $600,000 to build and even helped to fund the restoration of the caboose next to the chamber office. Their charitable gaming assists local people in need, schools, sporting programs, as well as the food shelf. So don't be afraid to buy a few pull tabs when you're out visiting Carboni's or the 617 or Acapulco. It'll be money well spent or well won if you're lucky. This morning, we proudly celebrate the contributions and the lasting imprint that the White Bear Lake Lions Club continue to leave on our community. Jim?
The Emerging Business Award recognizes a rising business that is making a significant impact in our community through the community engagement and excellence. This award honors a business that has demonstrated strong leadership, resilience, and the commitment to excellence in its early years. Through its contributions, this organization is not only establishing itself as a key player in our local economy, but also setting the stage for long-term success. In business, for just over a year, they showed they meant business by winning the top prize at the Taste of White Bear. Always welcoming with impeccable customer service and amazing high-quality food, they are proved to be a great steward for the community while building an outstanding restaurant. Today we celebrate the achievements and the exciting future of Young's Korean Barbecue. Sam, come on up here.
And finally, we celebrate our Business of the Year. This award honors the business that has demonstrated outstanding leadership, innovation, and commitment to our community. We recognize a business that not only excels in its industry, but also actively contributes to the success and well-being of our local economy. Through exceptional service, incredible craftsmanship, community engagement, and a dedication to excellence, they've set a high standard for others to follow. If you haven't had a chance to see the beautiful work that James does, you're missing out. That man has so much talent. In a short time, he's been able to move to a beautiful large space with a gorgeous showroom where you can see some of the extraordinary pieces of furniture he's made. From dining tables, chairs, kitchen islands, counters, entertainment centers, and so much more, there's not much they can't make for you. Please help us celebrate farmhouse-style furniture for their achievements and the lasting impact they continue to make. James?
Thank you, and congratulations to all of our award winners this year. And thank you for your commitment to the White Bear Area Chamber of Commerce and our community within. I would also like to take a quick acknowledgement of some of the great chamber volunteers who have or are currently leading committees and networking groups. Bill Weigel and Lisa Beecroft for the morning networking breakfast connections, Sheila Kelly and Lori Swanson, Women in Business, Mike Greenbaum and Kevin Donovan, Government Affairs, Craig Hart and Matt Burrios with the lunchtime networking, myself and Taylor Johnson as leading the ambassador group, and Samantha Farrell with the young professionals. Let's give them a round of applause. These are just a few of many volunteers the Chamber is privileged to have, and we are sincerely grateful for all the contribution. If you have an interest in attending any of these Chamber committees, feel free to reach out to myself or anyone at the Chamber office. I'm going to go off script here for a second, and I want to thank Maureen for setting this entire breakfast and everything up. We would not be here, the Chamber, as successful without Maureen working behind the scenes. She takes very little visibility. She doesn't like the spotlight, but I'm giving it to her today. I officially ask, are there any formal business before I close the meeting? I officially close the meeting today at 8:34. And now for our featured guests today. Susan Brower, the Minnesota State Demographer and directs the Minnesota State Demographic Center. She became the state demographer in February of 2012. In that capacity, travels the state talking to Minnesotans about the new social and economic realities that are brought about the recent demographic shifts. Susan's work applies an understanding in demographic trends to changes in a range of areas, including the state's economy, workforce, education, health, immigration, and rural population changes. Susan earned her PhD in sociology at the University of Michigan, specializing in demography and family sociology. She also holds a master's degree in public policy from Humphrey School of Public Affairs at the University of Minnesota. It is my pleasure today to introduce the Minnesota State Demographer, Susan Brower.
Thank you. I have this, but it looks like it doesn't want to go on. Maybe, but that's okay. I can take that one. I'll take that one.
All right.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Good morning. It's great to be here. Thank you for all of you who helped keep my screen from locking up, because we can just go straight into it now. I'm going to quiz you on what you saw. No, I'm just kidding. I'm going to talk a little bit about how our state has been growing population-wise, but mostly I'm going to focus on workforce growth, because we have experienced a pretty decent, you would know this, a pretty decent sized change in what's happening with our workforce growth. We have projections for the future, and I kind of want to give you a sense of what will change the picture, if anything. I should say first that as the state demographer, I'm in this position. I'm not appointed. I'm a nonpartisan person who's hired for my expertise in demographics, so I'm here regardless of who the administration is. Nonpartisan, kind of civil servant person here. So, so let's talk about general population growth first. And on the right of this graph, you can kind of see that the Twin Cities has had some tough years in terms of growth, in Minnesota as well. That's mostly attributable to kind of disruptions due to the pandemic. We had, for a while, fewer births, and that's something that will continue into the future. We had a few more deaths because of the not just a few, we had many more deaths because of the pandemic, but we had a pretty big disruption in migration patterns, and that's really what changed the picture for Minnesota overall and for the Twin Cities right after the pandemic. Now I'm sharing kind of a selection of cities from around this area, just so that you can see that there's quite a different range of growth patterns here. Cities tend to be much more variable in their growth from year to year than, say, the Twin Cities or Minnesota, because it's so much more related to what's being built. It's related to the age of the families, you know, our young adults moving out of their family's home and going to college. That kind of stuff all plays into a city's growth rate. So it's never going to look as stable or exactly like the picture for the Twin Cities overall or for Minnesota. But what we have seen fairly consistently in recent years is a decline in growth, a decline in population for Ramsey County. Washington County continues to grow. Okay. We can talk more about that. There'll be time for questions. If you have any more questions, I'm happy to take them. But I want to get into labor force and what we're projecting there. And this is the long-term picture of how our working age population has grown over time. And you can see that up until about 2000, 2010, we've really seen quite rapid growth. That was kind of during the time when employers could post their jobs. I don't know, in the 70s, they probably published them in the Star Tribune. Now they post them online. You could post these jobs, and unto you would come a range of people who are qualified, a selection of people to choose from. We're really in a position now where that labor force growth has slowed for the state overall. You can see that it's kind of, especially since about 2020, but a little bit before then as well, we started to see slower and slower growth of the workforce. We project into the future that we will see pretty much a stable population of workers, meaning that we'll have about the same number of workers today as we have in 15 years and 20 years. And that just has to do with the baby boomers retiring. It has to do with all of us having fewer children, so the workforce just isn't growing. We didn't make the workers 16 plus years ago to be entering the labor force today. And birth rates continue to fall, so it's something that we're likely to see in the future. Now, when I'm talking to a group like you of employers, many of you are employers, maybe not all of you, oftentimes people's heads go down on their tables and they're like, oh no, that's the projection, more of this into the future. I will say that that is true, and I hope it's, I'll talk in a minute about things that may change the picture, but I hope that just knowing that if it's business as usual, we're likely to see really not much growth in our workforce going forward. And I hope that helps give you some context to make some decisions about your businesses going forward. So that's why I say it, not to cheer you up. When I'm talking to a group of 20-year-olds and give them that same information, they look at it and they say, oh, this might not be so bad for me. I might have some opportunities out there. So it really just depends who you are, how that news is received. Okay, so in my office, we project the people. And as I said, we are not expecting a whole lot of growth into the future. I'm sharing now the other side of that equation to kind of show you where we are with respect to the number of jobs available and the number of workers out there actively looking for work. So that's what this graph is showing you. The blue bars over time represent the number of job openings in any month since 2012. And so you can see that beginning in 2012, The job openings started to creep up kind of over the decade. And then the gray kind of mountainous region behind is showing you the number of unemployed people or people actively looking for work. And so you can see that when you're comparing it back in 2012, we had many more people looking for work than we had available jobs. And that ratio or that trend crossed in the late, even before the pandemic, we started to have more jobs than we had people looking for work. And that was as the baby boomers started to retire. Excuse me. The pandemic upset that just for a moment. For a year or two, that's not a moment, I guess for a year or so, you can kind of see that great increase in unemployment that came back down. And now we're at a kind of a prolonged period where we have many more open jobs than we have people actively looking for work. So if it's hard to find people to hire, this is kind of one visual picture of what it looks like statewide. And if we see this picture kind of for the Twin Cities, for different regions of Minnesota, it really looks about the same, that employers are having a hard time finding workers. Thank you. Thanks so much. Employers are having a hard time finding workers because the employment picture has changed. More jobs than we have people looking for work. You pair that with our projections for very little growth, and I'll give you a moment to put your heads down on the table and just take a little rest. I know it's tough, but that's really what we expect. Sometimes people say, well, what if we get more people to move into the workforce? You know, that does happen a little bit. It mostly happens, it changes a little bit, but very, very slowly. So here we're looking at 23 years of changes in labor force participation. And you can see that the increase happened for teenagers for a little bit. It happens for older adults a little bit. You know, we're talking about maybe 5 to 10% more people in the workforce 10 years earlier. So we're talking about little changes year over year. And Minnesota has so much labor force participation already, such high labor force, particularly of women, that it's really hard to get above kind of that ceiling of 90% that we see for most of those main working years. So we really have realized over time increases in labor force participation, but it almost feels like we're at a ceiling at this point. So then the question is, well, if we can't, we probably can encourage more people into the workforce, but we have to do it kind of in new and different ways, and I'm happy to talk about that more with you. But the other kind of quicker way of increasing our workforce is to increase migration or immigration from other countries. And so what does that picture look like for Minnesota recently? So this is, you know, since 2011, the blue bars here are representing the number of international immigrants that were added to the state. This is people of all ages. This is people coming for college, you know, to the University of Minnesota or wherever they're coming to go to college. Refugees, anyone is included in here who was in a different country and then moved in. So on net, what this is telling us is that on average, we add anywhere between about 5 to up to 30,000 in the last year of international immigrants to the state. And historically, the gray bars are showing you domestic loss of people due to domestic migration. So that's the loss of people because of all the movement around the US to and from Minnesota. We tend to lose more people than we gain in Minnesota. We're not alone. It's not something unique to Minnesota. This is kind of a Midwest thing. It's kind of a Northeast thing. States in the Southwest and in the South tend to be pulling the kids in. It's mostly young people who are moving. So this is just historically our picture is that domestic migration doesn't help us a whole lot with workforce growth or with population growth. And international migration historically does. We saw kind of dampened net inflows in the late 2010s that picked up again in recent years. and we'll see kind of what happens into the future. Oh, as I mentioned, here the red areas are showing you where there's net domestic losses. This is just to kind of encourage you to think about kind of the broader context of domestic migration, that it's not just something that's about Minnesota, the characteristics of Minnesota. It's bigger than us. People like to move to the south and to the southwest. Another thing that's important, and I briefly mentioned this, is that people who migrate tend to be young people. You can see in this graph that the gray bars are people at a number of different ages who are moving away from Minnesota, and the blue bars are people who are moving into Minnesota. And so you can see that most of the movement that happens is among teenagers, late teens, early 20s. And so if you want to know why Minnesota is losing people, think about the 18, 19, 20-year-olds in your lives and think about why they move. So I have a couple of those in my life. I have an 18-year-old son, I have a 22-year-old daughter. And so I'm familiar very recently. Many of you will have the same age kids or people in your lives, but they move because they go to college. They move because they're in love. They move across the country. They want to go skiing. These are the kinds of things that are driving migration. You got to think about in terms of, what are young people moving for? What are the opportunities presented to young people? And that's really some of the kind of drivers of migration. Sure, people certainly move when they're older, but you can see just what a tremendous impact that young people have on overall migration trends. Okay, so we've been looking kind of at total population in terms of migration. Now I want to kind of zero in on what it means for the gain of workers. And this is just in the last year, my estimates for kind of what has happened with workforce growth compared to what's happened with migration. So the 30,000 that I was talking about before, those were all the people who came here, as I said. This is just the people who are in the workforce. So an estimate of the number of people who are in the workforce. I estimate that about 14,000 people were gained last year who now are in the workforce. So that gives you kind of a sense for how to scale how much change in the workforce overall there's been. That's about 16,000, so almost the same number. So almost all the growth that we had in the last year statewide is attributable to international immigration. And then just to kind of scale that against the job vacancies that we have, it doesn't touch it hardly at all. So even though it's an important source of growth, or has been historically, we've still got a big labor force shortage that probably won't be touched either by international immigration or certainly domestic migration, given the history that we have. So, what does that mean? We may see ongoing labor force shortages in the future. Of course, there's a pretty big shakeup happening at the federal level, so we'll see what that does with labor force participation. It means that employees have choices about where they want to be employed. They have a little bit more power than they had 10 years ago in terms of what they want. They have choices to move if they want to, and they are changing jobs. We could see a slowdown in economic growth, and then it's just important that policy focuses on essential jobs, higher paying jobs, and jobs with career pathways. Let's all take a breath. We haven't talked about automation. I haven't talked about automation. I haven't talked about people working remotely. I haven't talked about employers being creative about how to be the best place to work. These are all things that you can do to work against kind of the demographic context that we're seeing. But I'm sharing it with you not to cheer you up. That's not my job. I want to give you kind of a real context of where we are with employment, with labor force growth, and then also contextualize what immigration has meant in the recent years and what we can expect in the future. Now, the Minnesota Chamber is, very much saying the same things that I'm saying, following the same numbers, and really is realizing just what an important source of growth that immigration has been for workforce growth and for many industries across Minnesota. So very much in line with what the Minnesota Chamber is saying and what their policy platform is as well. So with that, what questions do you have for me? Yes. First hand. You're the second hand.
I'm an independent contractor. Where's my data caught in your employment? And is there more independent contractors working, kind of as a self-employed type of thing? Where's that caught?
So in terms of labor force participation, I was showing you the rates that people self-report. So if you're an independent contractor, you're still considered in the labor force for the data that I'm sharing with. In terms of the job vacancies, I'm not sure if it would probably depend on how you were registered, whether you would receive the sample. So the job vacancy data come from a sample of Minnesota businesses who are asked to report how many vacancies they have at the time. And so I guess it depends if you would be in that universe. And I don't know the answer to that if you wouldn't be. No, so.
I've been asked, so.
Yeah. So it's a sample, and it's a sample where not a lot of people would necessarily get it, but it's enough to get a picture of the regions around Minnesota. So I guess it would depend on how your business is registered, whether it would be in that sample and whether it would be picked up.
I'm just wondering, is that, as a follow-up question, is that influencing any of the data around the employment numbers? Is the number of independent contractors increased?
Yeah. So how has the number of independent contractors increased the labor force picture? Well, if they are not included, my expectation is they would not be included in the data to the extent that they might have. Do independent contractors have their own, I guess they have subcontractors, right? I don't think that you would report a job vacancy if you're an independent contractor. So I think that it would be outside of the data altogether. So that piece wouldn't be impacted. You should be included in labor force participation because it's very clear on the survey to say, do you employ yourself or are you part of a business? And it asks more about your occupation and so forth. So that part should be included. Yeah, thank you. Yes?
You mentioned automation and that is not part of this. It just broadly, what are you as a demographer sort of looking at as far as the expectation for future jobs that are replaceable by automation that don't have to have a human to be part of that?
Yeah. So obviously, the question's about automation and broadly, how do we think about it? Obviously, the ratio and the number of jobs, the type of jobs that we need is shifting and is going to continue to shift. I didn't show you a projection of kind of what DEED does this. The Minnesota Department of Employment and Economic Development does make projections about the type of jobs that will be needed. But I was just showing you present day, what are the vacancies? And you can look by industry on their website and see what types of jobs they are. And in the largest categories, they tend to be the types of jobs that maybe can be helped by automation, but not fully replaced by. And that's where a lot of jobs are right now, obviously. But the efficiencies are always increasing. But I guess I would just urge people to be realistic about where we are with respect to how much automation can do and how quickly it can be instituted. So My favorite, I talk about this at home with my husband because he works in a hospital. My favorite example is that they're bringing in robots to deliver food. He's like a nutrition manager for a hospital, to deliver food to the patients and to pick up the trays after they're done. And they're so excited about these robots that are able to do this. They go from floor to floor carrying the food. However, the robots cannot pick up the trays. They can't check the birth date or whatever the material is, or whatever the check is that's needed to be able to deliver the right food and check that it's the right food to the right patient. And it can't receive the tray, it can't deliver the tray. So someone has to be there waiting for the robot to come up with the food, has to check it, has to give it to, there has to be a human touch there. So even though like in our minds, we're like, well, robots can deliver the food, that seems easy. When you get down to it, there are so many constraints still that aren't really on the horizon, not close yet to be able to be put into place. So while there's plenty of things that we can do right now with automation and with AI that we couldn't do even a year ago, there's still some really big constraints in terms of making some of these workforce shortages go away just with automation. That's my feeling on it. But it'll come. But we're not there right now. Do you have other questions for me? Yeah.
Without getting political, is there anything policy-wise that the state can do to slow the out-migration of the loss of?
Yeah. So a lot of the migration that's happening in the older years is going to warm places, and we don't want to slow that. So I think kind of thinking about the choices that young people have. We also don't want to tell young people they can't move out and experience, but we can present choices to them that makes it attractive, an attractive choice to stay here. So whether that's admissions policy, whether that's kind of, how we finance higher ed, college and post-secondary education is just such an important jumping off point and such an important kind of cofactor that's related to migration. I just think we have to think about higher ed policy as being workforce policy, and that the opportunities that we are presenting our young people as they turn 19 or thinking about what they're going to do after high school really plays a role in our labor force growth later on. And so that's where I would focus policy. Other questions? Yeah.
On a macro level, if you look at this, how will companies shift to follow this trend? I've been in the food business for years, so I've seen tremendous pressure and even growers going out of business.
Yeah.
The agricultural sector, in food distribution, much of the distribution costs coming from out of state instead of in-state, so I'm seeing a shift. So how with these trends, how will business itself adjust to these trends?
So how does business adjust to the trends?
Will there be a downdraft in the amount of businesses as business follow where the labor's going?
Yeah, I hope that's not the case, but I will say that the baby boom happens, of course, across the U.S. And so many countries, or many, many states are in the same position that we are, especially in the Midwest, if they don't have kind of in-migration. We hope that the outcome is that businesses will not move out of Minnesota to where the labor is. I think the chamber is focused on immigration because they understand that that is one of the levers that we have. It's a federal policy, obviously, but it's it's the only way that you can quickly increase labor. And so that's the one that the Minnesota Chamber has focused on. The state has focused really on trying to move migration trends instead. So domestic migration trends. So how do we get people to move here? They have like a campaign so people understand how great Minnesota is and to move here. I'm a little more skeptical about that because you first got to find people and convince them. Whereas with international immigration, it's much faster. There's already, a willing audience as long as you can fix federal policy to allow that.
Just to follow.
Yeah, please.
There's a trend where the first average age of first birth for women is going from 22.6 to over 31 years now. So I work with family business in the sixth section. We're seeing that start to show up where people are doing retirement age. They used to have a 40-something-year-old following them. Now those are 30-something-year-olds, and they're not quite fully cooked in the next generation of leaders. So there's this succession gap that's emerging along with these trends.
Yeah, that's an important point. I think, the generation after the baby boomers, my generation, Generation X, is so small that you've kind of got all these senior leadership, later career people leaving, and you've got a very, very small generation kind of moving into that next group. So you're reaching down into the millennial generation, and it's different. We're not used to seeing people in leadership, kind of in the senior leadership, kind of in that stage of life. But I don't know, if you think about it historically, it's just kind of based on the fact that we've had this baby boom generation in place for so long. Yeah. Well, thank you all. It's been great to talk with you, and I'm around. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan.
Yeah. Thank you.
Stuff to me. I'm kind of a geek by nature of the techie dudes, but I love the numbers, and that's what I really look at to run my business. And I hope, and I think probably you do as well, look at the demographics of what's growing, what markets are, and how you can keep your jobs within your business. So thank you everyone for attending today. A special thank you to Susan Bauer for our featured speaker today. Special thank you to our sponsors once again, Royal Credit Union, Friends and Bank and Trust, Grand Casino Mille Lacs in Hinckley, North Oaks Company, and Biz Recycling. Don't forget to save upcoming dates. Chamber 101 will be held on March 20th. Save the date for the legislative breakfast on Tuesday, April 29th. We'll release more information about this in the event soon. The annual Not Your Typical Golf Tourney on Friday, June 6th at Onika Ridge Golf Course, as well as other numerous monthly networking meetings and chamber events. Thank you everyone for attending. Hope you have a great day.